RSR Racing. We're in the game.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Drivers, start your printers.
To keep pace with the ever-changing landscape of marketing and advertising, let Clark Print Shop help you spot the trends and keep you in front of the pack with all your color printing needs. From business cards to invitations, menus to mugs, we can print anything you need on paper or your choice of over 3,000 promotional items. Visit www.clarkprintshop.com to browse our online catalog and place your order today, or call us at 276-889-3426. For a limited time, use the code iRacing for 23% off your first purchase. The staff at Clark Print Shop looks forward to handling all your color printing needs.
Walking and Rolling Costumes started when my son Reese was born with cancer.
So when I was 3 years old, I got my first wheelchair.
And he wanted to be Wall-E for Halloween that year. And so I knew you couldn't buy a costume to go on a wheelchair at that time, so I knew I had to build one.
My dad ended up building a Wall-E costume out of a Dell computer box.
When we were all finished, he loved it. We took pictures of it and shared it on social media. So many people started sharing it that we started getting requests from people we didn't know.
In 2015, we decided to build them for other kids because people were asking, hey, can you build them for my kid?
So we started the nonprofit organization, Walking and Rolling Costumes, and we build costumes for kids all over the nation, free of charge to the families.
Saturday Night Racing League is ready to bring flag-to-flag coverage live here on VSPEED.
2.5 miles, 31 degrees of baking, opened back in February 1959.
Coming by the lead lap number one, Jeff Wright by about 0.02 of a second gets that lap led.
Across the line, Bailey Turner with 2 tires is going to get the victory. Michael Sturgill is going to steal the win at Kentucky in unbelievable fashion.
On the bottom, looking for his first career win on Saturday night. Pushed by Ryan Carlisle. Bailey Turner on the top. At a turn number 4 they come. That's fun. Turner's getting the push. There goes Cabin for the win. He gets blocked below the line. There's contact, but Bailey Turner will cross the line first.
Live from Michigan International, it is the Saturday Night Racing League presented by M&J Distributors.
Where does Reggie Ortega go? He doesn't dare 4 wide, does he? They're making contact, 24-48. We're 3 by 3 in the turn number 1. There's 5 laps to go.
Jeff Wright's going to benefit from this if he can keep it off the wall.
He went to the middle again. There's no room for it again. That's going to hurt Jeff Wright. Push him up the track. Jeff Wright fades back.
It's over. Jag Klinger's going to claim chase race number 1 from Michigan. Live here tonight on VSPEED. It's the Monster Mile here in Delaware.
Ball hard, no lesson. These dry mind, no Tesla. These whip glide like
It's a crack. Bailey Turner's crack. The 24 is destroyed in turn 3. Carlisle and Stravado came together.
And Adam Cabot is checked out. It looks like it's all over. The 17 on this new update finds another way to victory lane. The 17 of Adam Cabot is your winner at Dover.
Oh, happy act got nailed.
And he's still side by side somehow with Bailey Turner. It worked out for him. But Josh Adams trying to do it here at Iowa. This would be his second win of the season. Klinger and Turner side by side for a second. It's going to be a battle to the line, but it's Josh Adams taking the win at Iowa.
Here we go, live from Homestead. It's Saturday Night Racing League presented by M&J Distributors, season 4 finale. They're going to go 3 wide for the top spot. Adams dives it to the inside in 3 and 4. Klinger on the high line. Herodes just trying to hold on to it. Off of turn 4, the final time. Ryan Carlisle is going to find his way to victory lane. Bailey Turner holds on to become the 4th champion of the Saturday Night Racing League.
experience on the track will play in their benefit, but a whole different driving car. We're talking about nearly 200 miles an hour down the backstretch and into turn 3, 200 miles an hour down the front stretch into turn 1. It's going to look a whole lot faster once we get to it, but it's going to put on one heck of a race, I am sure. Let's bring up the points here and talk about our standings as we make our way into the Week 11 race. Bailey Turner holding the top step of that board. One win on the season. Jeff Wright right there for P2 in the standings. As you can see through the rest of the field here, a little bit blurry on my side. I apologize for that. I'll try to pull it up secondary here and read off the names at the top of the list. Bailey Turner, Jeff Wright, Joshua Banks, your top 3. J.R. Shepard in P4 for the standings. Angelo Hronis takes up P5 with Joseph McWhorter right behind in P6. Matt Shinosky, Nicholas Hapiak, Chuck Sweeting, and Kenny Kibbe will round out the top 10. And right there in the 11th position will be Christopher Hodges, followed up by Elliott Butler. And this series, we're taking the top 16 to the playoffs versus the 12 for the challengers. Dakota Floyd, Hunter Sr., Brandon Wallace, and Caleb Weekly making up your top 16. Right there behind them. It's a battle for the cutoff line, only with one race remaining after this. That'll be at Martinsville Motor Speedway next week, another short track on the weekend. So enjoy that with Bristol, followed up by Martinsville next week. But it's just about time to get into our starting grid here for the Cup Series. Qualifying and the warm-up session have concluded. So let's get right into it with AJ Stravato, the number 33, the Italian Stallion, taking over the top step to start this race. Jeff Wright in the 48 will start to his outside. In row number 2, it's the 35, the fan favorite Joshua Banks, starting out next to the 73 of Joseph McWhorter. In row number 3, the 71 of Ryan Carwile, next to the Juicy Spider 06 of Nick Hapiak. In P7, starting out, the 05 of James Lehman, next to the 24 of Bailey Turner. And last but not least, in our top 10, starting in 9th, it's the 23 of Ray Massey, next to the 50 of Casey Lakatos.
Roll it off in the 11th position this evening is going to be Dakota Floyd with Angelo Hronis in 12th. Starting in 13th is going to be Elliott Butler with Jordan Trask pulling double duty, rolling off in 14th this evening. Behind them, we have Josh Adams starting in 15th, Caleb Weekly in 16th. Starting in the 17th position, Bryce Shoemaker with Donnie Kite in the 18th position. And rounded out the top 20, we've got Hunter Sr. in the 02, and in the 20th position, J.R. Shepard.
And for the last third of our 30-car field, starting out in 21st, Chuck Sweeting takes the 75, next to the 20 of Bryce Calusa in 22nd. In 23rd, it's the 15 of Christopher Hodges, next to the 31 of Matt Shinosky in 24th. The 99 of Brandon Wallace takes up the 25th starting spot, next to the 4 of Rob Hamp to his outside. The 60 of Stephen Davis here in 27th to start the event at Chicagoland, next to the 64 of Ben Laughter in P28. And rounding out our field is the 88 of Keith Shoemaker, next to the 89 of Austin Belke. 30 cars to start. 6 more cars than what we had in the Challenger Series. That will add just a little bit more danger into the factor. We'll see if these drivers can manage to put on a green to checkered show, as we just saw with the Challenger Series. Keep that momentum hot going into the last couple races of the season. We're rolling around here at Chicagoland. AJ Stravato, Jeff Wright on that front row. Daniel, we didn't do it last race, but we have time this time. Do you have any favorites that you want to put on the podium tonight?
Oh man, you're really trying to put me on the spot with the broadcaster crews here, aren't you, Logan? Let me off the hook on the last one, but you know what? Give me the 73 of Joseph McWhorter starting in that number 4 position. Just, having raced against him in some other series, I feel like he's going to have the speed to be able to get it done here this evening.
Joseph McWhorter always finds a way to put speed on example here. See if he can make his way up to that #1 spot. I'm going to go a little bit further back. I'm going to see about picking somebody outside of the top 10. I'm liking the look of the 57 of Dakota Floyd. He had a really fast car in the practice session. I thought it was going to carry over into the qualifying. He finds himself back in P11 to start the race. The short run is where the 57 is going to shine tonight. I believe it'll be the long run here. But we're going to find out shortly as the pace car comes off, and for the first time tonight at Chicagoland, the Saturday Night Racing Cup Series is away. Right, gets a great jump from the outside line and immediately looks to take over M&J Distributors. Side by side with Joseph McWhorter for row number 2. Step of the podium early on in the race. We saw it in the Challenger Series. The clean air is going to be your best friend. It's going to be a battle for who can keep their car at the front of the field for the longest. Already having some connection issues here. I believe that's the 06 of Nick Hapiak. A little bit of a blink there on the top side. That will stay consistent here. Inside, trying to take away that top 5 position already. Lap number 1 goes to Jeff Wright. Lap number 2 will likely fall the same way.
And Joseph McWhorter was able to clear up into that number 2 position, but he's still got AJ Stravato there close behind. First side-by-side battle for position, though. You see Joshua Banks and Bailey Turner battling for that number 4 position. Turner in the 24 back there trying to take that spot away. So far, everybody trying to get single filed out. It looked like a lot of guys were trying to get down to the bottom. Now you see Joseph McWhorter trying to work that top line, find a way around the 48 of Jeff Wright, carrying a little bit of momentum down the back straightaway. See if he decides to pull a slide job on him here. But so far, it looks like Wright is going to kind of hang on that outside lane with the momentum, not going to allow McWhorter to clear up.
Worry about the tires this early in the run. Cars will be much higher horsepower than the Xfinity Series. So you really have to be careful about ripping that top side and completely shredding that right rear tire coming off the corner. Jeff Wright, one of the best to do it here in the tire saving division. Joseph McWhorter will not make it easy by any means. We'll constantly be filling up that rear view mirror, the 48, seeing just what kind of pressure it will take to apply to Jeff Wright to move him out of that number 1 spot. Joshua Banks, AJ Stravato starting to battle out. Here's the P3. Banks looking around the outside. The 33 holding it down to the bottom. Paint scheme that you pretty well can expect to see on Stravato's car week after week, no matter what series he's in. It's well the easiest way I can tell that he's on the racetrack, Daniel.
Yeah, that's the part for the paint scheme. As you can see up front, there is a change for the lead. That is Joseph McWhorter to the lead, but the caution is out. The 6 of Josh Adams has just gone for a spun through the front straightaway grass, and has just gone for a spun. That's exactly what you want to hear out of your broadcaster. Has just gone for a spin. And that's going to bring out our first caution here on lap number 6 of this race.
So an early caution to restack the field. Unlikely to see any drivers bring it down 4 tires, but you might see some of the drivers at the back of the field go ahead and bring it down, top off on fuel. 6 laps into the run. You know, it may or may not help you. 140 lap race. Idea of about 50 laps per fuel run. Back here on the VSPEED instant replay, running right behind the 54 of Bryce Shoemaker. Shoemaker currently in the 16th position. So in the middle of the field, just gets a little loose on corner exit, no contact made, controls the slide down into the grass. I don't even think that Josh Adams is going to need a new set of tires after that. Got down to the grass pretty quickly. No flat spots should be, too big of an issue, especially after falling to the back of the field, now running P29. So it will be, I think the 6 will just calm it down from here, run some laps, get to the pit cycles, and start working your way back up through the field from there. We're having a caution within the first 10 laps. You don't almost have to think that a caution will appear somewhere throughout the rest of the race. Man, I sure feel goofy after that. Almost the entire field brings it down pit road. Joseph McWhorter keeps it up on the track, but Jeff Wright and company come down pit road. There's Travato behind, Banks, the 50 of Lacatus, the 05. We're going to hit our pit stalls. They blew through it this time. Top off on fuel. Right back out onto the track goes Lacatus. And it is going to be tires for our front runners. Interesting call. Jeff Wright and AJ Stravato's cars merge into each other on pit road exit. But I think Wright had the advantage at the exit line. Will find themselves way back in the middle of the pack, however, so I don't think that battle for position off pit road is going to come down to being too much of a factor here.
Yeah, Jeff Wright will be the first car on fresh tires. He's going to be restarting in 15th position when we go back green here. But yeah, I'm with you. I did not expect to see that many drivers coming down pit road here with just 6 laps on the tires. So a little bit of a strategy call there. You know, we saw a lot of different strategy plays with the tires in the first race of the night here in SNR. We're going to have a little bit more strategy here for this one as well.
Casey Lacatus, Hunter Sr., both electing to top off on fuel only, 5.5 seconds spent in pit box. Donnie Kite will take the same strategy. Ben Laughter on the same strategy. Stephen Davis, Matt Shinosky, Keith Shoemaker might have taken right side tires, 9.5 seconds in the box. Austin Belkey right at that 9-second mark as well. So we've already got a mixed up sort of strategy. 5 sets of tires over the pit wall. It gives you that opportunity to switch things up. You can go for that early race. If you think this might go green from here to the next pit cycle, it definitely plays in your favor. And we've got to get to that point first. See how it goes after we get back under green flag conditions. Joseph McWhorter on the inside lane will be in control with Bailey Turner in the 24 up on the high side. Row number 2 will be Ryan Carwile and Angelo Horonis, with row number 3 being made up by Ray Massey and Jordan Trask. A lot of drivers staying out have collected quite a few positions from that caution. J.R. Shepard rather, up 10 spots with Bryce Calusa up 11 right behind him. Pace car comes off into the Geico restart zone for the second time tonight. The first actual restart, and away we go. Joseph McWhorter uses that control to his advantage, gets easily through. And the battle is on right behind with Ryan Carwile and Angelo Hronis side by side for P3 down into turn 1. Carwile gets the advantage out of turn number 2, slots up in between Turner and Hronis. 3 wide behind. Jeff Wright sitting into the bottom already on the inside of the 20. Bryce Calusa sandwiched in the middle. Bryce Shoemaker just ahead, about in the same boat. A little wiggle there from Shoemaker off of turn number 4. The 98 is Shepard using that high line, keeps separated from Jeff Wright. Jeff Wright still on the inside here of Bryce Shoemaker, just ahead of Calusa and Lacatus.
Jeff Wright already up 5 positions in just the first lap, so putting those fresher tires to use. As you can see there, the 54 Shoemaker up on the high side, trying to keep that car under control. A little bit of a wiggle even down the straightaway for the driver of that 54. But back here, this is the Hornets' nest. You can see AJ Stravato, another one of those drivers that elected to take tires on that caution, tried to find his way through. Thinking about splitting the middle there, but just not quite, well, I was going to say not quite enough momentum, but he almost made it work. He's going to look to the bottom here in 3 and 4 to go 3 wide, see if he can get a 2 for 1 and try to keep pace with the 48 of Jeff Wright.
It's going to work to get around the 20. Still side by side on exit though with the 98, or rather the 50. Cottis gets the run across the front stretch, back in front of AJ Stravato. Caleb Weekly back here looking to make it 3 wide middle with the 16 and the 79. Falls out of it. The opportunity is there. just has to get the run at the right time. Using that high line, he'll be able to get the drive off of turn 4 here. See if Leakley can hold on to this spot as he's successfully gotten around Elliott Butler. 4P7. Jordan Trask just up the way. These drivers not bringing it down for fuel or tires. Jeff Wright just cracked into the top 10, gets around J.R. Shepherd down for P9. That is your first fresh tire driver in the field, followed by AJ Stravato. And then Joshua Banks now battling with the 20 of Carusa for P13.
Jeff Wright able to clear up into the number 8 position. He's able to get around the 16 of Elliott Butler, and he had previously cleared J.R. Shepherd in the 98. So not quite as much ground as I would have thought there based off of that first lap, where he was able to pick up about 4 spots right away on that first lap after the restart. And now AJ Stravato there creeping into the picture back behind this battle. He's trying to pick his way back up through this field as well. He's going to take a look to the outside of the 98 of Shepherd here and just try to make that outer groove work. But it seems like with these cars, with the Gen 4 compared to what we saw with the Xfinity, that outer groove, the upper side of the track, just doesn't seem to work quite as well, at least here in the early on. So have to see if that does come into play a little bit more, as Stravato's going to split the middle here. Gets tight off of turn 4, but he's able to make it stick. He picks up the 2 for 1. That's a really nice move by the 33 there.
Threading the needle goes the Italian Stallion. Makes it look easy, even with a little bit of a wiggle off of turn number 4, able to keep it under control, but that's just that 900 horsepower motor coming to play here. This McWhorter has gotten out by about 1/4 of a second over Bailey Turner. McWhorter, you know, one thing we didn't touch on, he's coming into this race with a whole lot of momentum, fresh off of a championship night last night. Another series that he runs. So coming to Chicagoland today with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Wants to continue that streak. Xfinity Lakatos gets a little bit of air packed on the left rear by Joshua Banks. Slight moment of slip there for the finish. Collected back down the backstretch, loses the position of the 35 of Banks as he's trying to work his way back up through the field here. Banks currently running in P12, right behind J.R. Shepherd, trying to crack into the top 10. That pit cycle for the 35 team set him back quite a ways, back about 11 positions from where he started the race. Now attacking on the inside on the exit of turn 2. Can't quite keep the speed, but Shepherd into the wall, into 3. That's going to slow him down. It's like pulling a parachute on a drag car. Once you make contact with that barrier on the outside of the track, it just grabs it and holds it. Sucks away the speed, but it does play out nicely for the 98. A good recovery to keep the speed back up and going out of turn 4.
Yeah, one nice thing about these cars too, with the Xfinity cars, they're way more momentum based. I mean, they still have a decent amount of power, but the momentum is way more important in those versus these. You've got plenty of motor under the hood. Lose a little bit of that momentum, you're able to gain it back much quicker. So one of the nice things with these Gen 4s is they're harder to drive, but you can kind of recover from those mistakes a little bit quicker in a lot of instances.
Again, is a very long race, just starting lap 21 out of 140. So still plenty of time for this script to get flipped on its head. AJ Stravato moves around the 13th and Caleb Leakley up into the 8th spot. A little bit of shuffling happening outside of the top 10. James Lehman looking to move up the field. Joe Rona's on your screen right now, up 8 positions from where he started, creeping in on the top 3. Ryan Carlisle just about 1/4 of a second ahead of him.
There you can see Jeff Wright making another pass for position. And, you know, we talked about tire wear earlier on in the pre-race, but just to give an idea of where we're at as far as the lap time fall off so far, even those that came down pit road under that caution and took tires, they're still running about a second a lap slower than their fastest lap. And that's after about 12 green flag laps. not much different for those that did not come down pit road. They're about 1.2 seconds off of their fastest laps. So even though we haven't turned a whole lot of green flag laps, still a really significant tire fall off here. I think if this does end up going green, it will definitely benefit those that elected to take that early set of tires. But one thing about it, anytime they get an opportunity when the caution flag does come out, these drivers are going to want to come down and take advantage of that.
Angelo Brones is taking advantage, holding on to that fourth spot. But AJ Stravato was able to get around Ray Massey. It looked pretty easily from here. So those tires are, in fact, coming into play. It doesn't appear to be as much because we are dealing with a lot of dirty air for Jeff Wright and AJ Stravato. The cornering speed is where it's at. The ability to hold it down to that white line on the very bottom of the track and keep your momentum through the corner. As we've got a big wiggle from the 16 coming out of turn number 4, nearly getting into the 57 to go to Floyd. He's trying to work his way back up. Floyd finds himself in the 12th position. Elliott Butler loses another spot to James Lehman way down on the bottom of the track. Lehman tried to slot up in between Floyd and Butler. That door closed just as quickly as it opened, however. That 16 is not going to let this position go by easily.
Yeah, and that was definitely a big moment there for the 16, but he looks like he's got it gathered back up for now. Dakota Floyd kind of setting sail from this battle just a little bit, trying to close in on those drivers ahead of him. That's J.R. Shepard and Caleb Weekly directly ahead. Dakota Floyd trying to get his way up into the top 10 for the first time this evening. Showed a lot of speed in practice. Kind of surprised to see him qualify where he did. Starting a little bit further back outside that top 10. I believe he was actually top of the leaderboard for a while during practice. So definitely some speed there, but a little bit of work ahead of him to find his way up to the front of the field.
All it takes is the slightest mistake, a little bit of contact with the wall on corner exit. The qualifying session will completely eliminate your attempt. It's likely what happened to a couple of these drivers. Is we saw in the race earlier this afternoon, you know, it's very slick on the cold tires on corner exit. Very easy to run those Xfinity cars up into the wall, and it's even easier when you add another 200 to 300 horsepower in this Gen 4 package. This driver's doing a great job of handling it so far. Nearly 30 laps into the race here. Joseph McWhorter got the lead, has not looked back. Now 0.8 of a second over Bailey Turner. He's got about 0.3 of a second over Ryan Carlisle. Those pressure tires are starting to close in. Jeff Wright, AJ Stravato here just inside and just out of the top 5. Angelo Brones still holding on to that spot, even closing the gap up to Ryan Carlisle for P3. Keep an eye on the 29 machine to make a move here in the next couple of laps. If he can get to that inside left rear of Carlisle. Floyd still moving up the leaderboard, now back to where he started this race in P11. So he's got some ground to make up. J.R. Shepard holding on to the top 10 spot. Ray Massey on the outside right now for P9. Floyd ready to take advantage if either one of these drivers make a mistake. Looks like Ray Massey's going to get some speed around the outside through 1 and 2. Closes the door. This will be a move around the outside for Dakota Floyd, but can't quite get there to hold it to the door through 3 and 4. Nearly 3 wide. It's going to be 3 wide as we make our way through the middle of 4. Dakota Floyd using the outside line. Finds the speed that he needs to lead the top 10.
Really nice move there out of the 57. He thought about it the last lap around. He had a full head of steam coming off of turn number 4. And he just about got in the back of Ray Massey in the 23 just because of how much momentum he had. Backed out of it, but able to make the move the next time around. But that 98 of Shepard is not going away down there on the bottom. Have to think that Floyd up there in that upper groove is going to have the momentum this time, and he is going to be able to clear. And, you know, I mentioned it earlier that we didn't really see people running that uppermost groove just yet, but the 57 of Dakota Floyd, really the first one to make it work to the extent that he has, and especially over in turns 3 and 4. I mean, it's almost a little bit backwards of what we saw with the Xfinity race earlier, where it seemed like that higher groove worked better on turns 1 and 2 versus this end of the track. Floyd making it work a little bit better over in 3 and 4 right now.
Discussing this, Jeff Wright used the inside line in turns 1 and 2 to get by the 71 of Ryan Carlisle, putting another car in between him and AJ Stravato. So a little bit of comfort room there for Wright. We'll see if it'll pay off for him as Dakota Floyd gets around the outside of Jordan Trask out of turn 2, down the backstretch, using the high line through 3 and 4. We'll get the drive off here and be well clear of the 79 machine. Up to P8 for Floyd now. The battle right behind. James Lehman in the picture. J.R. Shepard, Ray Massey still all grouped up here for that P10 position. Lehman gets the advantage using the top line of 1 and 2. Shepard still on the bottom. Ray Massey now trying to use the draft and get side by side. Bit there on the entrance of 3, but not quite close enough to the back bumper of James Lehman to really help drive that car into the corner.
Yeah, James Lehman been making a little bit of ground here recently. Ray Massey kind of on a little bit of a free fall right now. He was running up there a little bit higher up the running order, has lost a few spots here in the last handful of laps, but just kind of nature of the beast here with this track, especially with the different tire strategies. You can see J.R. Shepard trying to get to the inside of Massey in that 23, trying to find his way around just a couple cars back here. 79 of Trask, though, he has been working his way up into the top 10 up there for the first time this evening. But just taking a look through the field here, quite a few drivers that have been on the move, quite a few drivers that have been falling through the field a little bit. Currently, the biggest mover of the race so far is actually the 64 of Ben Lafter back in 17th. He's up 10 spots from where he started. You can see here another driver that's been on the move since the restart is that 33 of Stravato, working his way up through the field on those fresher tires. And just as soon as I mentioned it, broadcaster curse engaged. 33 into the wall. That was a pretty hard hit to the right front as well. So I have to think he's going to have just a little bit of damage of some sort on that machine. And yeah, just a really hard hit to the wall there for the 33.
A little over a quarter way through this race. Joseph McWhorter still holding on to about a 1 second lead over Bailey Turner. Jeff Wright just gets around the 29 of Angelo Horonis, using the top side of 3 and 4, the 48, back to a podium spot here. Stravato now under fire from Dakota Floyd for P7. Joshua Banks just up the road from them, but interestingly enough, these tires, the drivers that did not come down pit road, whenever we had that first and only caution so far, Floyd into the wall coming down the backstretch, a little dirty air coming off the back of the 33, putting up there. But the drivers that did not bring it down pit road on that caution have done a great job of holding on to these top 5 spots. Trask, really the only one that's moved so far back to P9, still in the top 10 and up 5 positions from where he started. And so I want to agree with these drivers that stayed out and did not take tires. Even the drivers that came down and took fuel only to extend this first run a little bit. I'm liking the way that this is setting up for the first green flag pit cycle.
And even just taking a look at the lap times right now, the 48 of Jeff Wright, basically even with Joseph McWhorter. One lap McWhorter may be a half a tenth faster. The next lap Wright will be a half a tenth faster. So, yeah, it definitely seems like that tire advantage isn't quite what maybe the drivers would have anticipated that did elect to take that early set of tires. I mean, you see the 48 of Wright, Banks, Stravato, they've done a nice job working their way back up through the field, but overall kind of a net loss from where they all started at, or as far as where they were at before the caution was out rather. So something to keep an eye on a little bit later, a little bit more laps on the tires, I think it would be worth burning another set. But if it's only just a handful of laps like that, just seems like the advantage isn't there for him.
We'll just have to find out as we get through the late runnings of the stint. Some of these drivers might be a lot more comfortable with the long run versus the short run speed of the cars. There's quite a few names in this list that I can think of that excel at the long run pace. We still have a whole lot of race to go before it really starts to come into play. Right now, AJ Stravato trying to make way around the 05 of James Lehman. Lehman charging around the outside, however. Stravato out of the throttle through 1 and 2. The 05 gets a big run down the backstretch and gets around the 79 at Jordan Trass. Great move for Lehman. The 98 of Shepard nearly attempting to make it 4 wide. It was offset, but it was there. Each car had their own lane and a big wiggle for Stravato as the 79 comes back down the track. 33 finding it difficult here in the early stages of the race.
And I believe Stravato may have gotten into the wall again. You can see it there on the right front of the car as he makes contact with the 79. They're able to get it straightened down. Both keep it pointed in the right direction. But you can see it there on the right front of Stravato. There is a pretty noticeable amount of damage on that car. You can see the tires sticking out just a little bit from the fender. That right front crinkled up just a bit there. Really good shot of it going down the front straightaway. So, yeah, I feel like that car is definitely at a bit of a disadvantage right now as far as the aerodynamics. Just losing a little bit of grip, struggling overall. And you're seeing that now with him losing a few positions as we're probably not far off from green flag pit stops here, Logan.
Shouldn't be too far off at all. Our top 2 drivers, 45 laps have now started on this run. Our information indicates anywhere from lap 49 to about lap 53 on the fuel. The pace laps do extend that a little bit. But, you know, going back to the 33 of Stravato with that slight bit of damage on the right front, you know, even though Chicagoland is a mile and a half track, it still has certain aspects carried over from super speedway racing. The track is very important here. The cornering speed at any intermediate mile and a half track has got to be there. So that damage, we'll be looking to get it repaired here under caution or possibly this first pit cycle under green flag conditions as Bailey Turner gets into the wall, allowing Jeff Wright to charge up on the inside. Not quite clear in the middle of 3 and 4, but he should be on exit. Will he get the slide up the track and ahead of the 24? He does. Right back to P2. 1.5 seconds behind Joseph McWhorter, so it's quite the drive to get back to him. Remember, McWhorter did not come down. Jeff Wright will be able to control the lead here as McWhorter does go to pit lane for the first time tonight.
Yeah, and I'm going to be interested to see with those that came down pit road on that first caution. Are they going to try to extend this run out a little bit longer? You know, we saw the overcut work really, really well in the Xfinity race earlier this evening. But so far, it just seems like that 5 to 6 lap tire difference isn't big enough to warrant staying out those extra laps, especially with the time that you lose with that undercut. And right now, the lap time's fallen off by about 1.5 to 1.7 seconds from the fastest laps of the race. So, I don't know. I know that it wasn't the way to go in the first race, but I would have to think I would rather come down pit road early here under green, see if I can get the track position. Just seems like that clean air and being able to play defense is a little bit more important here. See Bailey Turner now in the clutches of the 35 of Joshua Banks. Banks trying to look to the inside. Looks like he's going to be able to pretty easily clear for that position. Not much of a battle there between he and Turner.
I believe I just heard our first call for a pit stop coming from the 79 team. Just keep an eye on Jordan Trass as he's working his way down the backstretch into turn 3. Another call from the 13 team. Caleb Weekly right behind him in P12. That they do. They both bring it down pit lane. Trass and Weekly, our first 2 takers on green flag stops. That's 49 laps completed for both of those drivers on this stint. There's a call from our race leader, Joseph McWhorter, is going to bring it down here at the start of lap 51, relinquishing the number 1 position to Jeff Wright. We'll have about 8 laps to go before the 48 machine really needs to bring it down, but he's going to follow. He brings it down right behind the 73 McWhorter. That is Joshua Banks, who just got around Bailey Turner a few laps ago. We'll see how long he runs it out. Turner, Ronas on 51 laps for this run. Carlisle in the same boat. Shepard, Massey, Calusa, Chuck Sweeting, all on that 51 lap run.
Yeah, and it feels like the 48 of Jeff Wright maybe saying, hey, it's not worth it to stay out these extra few laps. Let me get back on even tires with McWhorter. Try to mitigate this deficit of letting him come down pit road first. And actually, Jeff Wright is going to be able to get out of his stall first and beat the 73 off of pit road. So really nice work there by the pit crew. You said something earlier about making sure that the bonus check cleared. I think the 48's definitely cleared. That was just a really fast stop from him there.
A full 2 seconds faster in the box versus the 73 team. 14.3 for Jeff Wright, 16.4 for Joseph McWhorter. Not sure what the hang-up was for the 73 car, but not a great trip down pit lane. It was a full 3 seconds slower from the entry to the exit of the pit lane. That's going to be a big momentum swing as Banks brings it down the road. Follow suit. I think that's Cottas there behind them as well. Floyd assumes the lead for the first time tonight. 35 laps on this stint for the 57. And
caution is out.
The worst thing that can happen happens. Oh my goodness, we're going to put about half the field a lap down. Wow.
And that was the 64 of Ben Lafter was caught up in that. I believe the 26 of Donnie Kite was also caught up in that. Big damage for both of them on the back straightaway. And that definitely changes everything. As you mentioned, that leaves just 13 cars on the lead lap. There'll be quite a few waiver rounds here. But yeah, that definitely, the 64 of Ben Lafter was caught up in that on the back straightaway. And at the absolute worst time for that caution to come out.
And amazingly enough, Joshua Banks, who was in his pit stall when that caution came out, was able to get out and stays on the lead lap. So he will assume the lead as everybody in front of him will be bringing it down, and then everybody behind him scored 1 lap down. So this is going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds. Take a look back here on the VSPEED instant replay. The 64 tries to shoot 3 wide middle. Bryce Shoemaker comes up just enough to shut the door. The 26 just nowhere to go. Donnie Kite gets wrapped up in it. Ben Lafter, looks like the front right pretty well damaged here. Not sure how. That doesn't seem like it should have caused a caution, though.
Yeah, I believe when the 64 gets turned, yeah, with him being sideways like that, I think it was just long enough that he was at that right angle there that it did trigger iRacing to throw the caution. But really significant damage, and that's just a product of the speed difference between fresh tires and old tires. I mean, the 64 was on a rail coming through there and just catches those guys at really the worst possible spot and tries to thread the needle, just not quite enough room there. And yeah, this is going to turn the whole field upside down here, Logan.
That it is. I'm waiting to see how this is actually going to unfold here on the timing and scoring. Joshua Banks being scored as the lead driver here. But as you can see, looking off the back of the pace car, the car in the number 1 spot currently is Bailey Turner.
Yeah, these are all the waiver rounds here. These are all guys that were trapped a lap down, and would not surprise me if we have to extend this caution by an extra lap because of how many waiver rounds there are. just looking at the timing and scoring right now, it looks like your top 10 is going to be Joshua Banks, James Lehman, Dakota Floyd, Nick Hapiak, Bryce Calusa, the top 5. In 6th place, Christopher Hodges, Casey Lakatos, Matt Shinosky, Brandon Wallace, and J.R. Shepard. That's your top 10, and they have indeed extended this caution an extra lap because there's just an absurd amount of waiver rounds with where that caution came out.
It's going to take a little while to get this one sorted out. We're going to hang out here and watch it all unfold. The 6 of Josh Adams currently has a black flag on the scoring and timing sheet. Not entirely positive as to why. Looks like maybe looking back here on my cameras, I'm thinking the 6 might have had a speeding penalty down pit road. So that's going to push him all the way to the back of the field, out of a battle for the top 10 spots. Again, just a weird situation here. Looks like they've got it sorted out. So our front row will be Joshua Banks, James Lehman, Dakota Floyd, Nick Hapiak in row 2. Row 3, Bryce Calusa, Christopher Hodges. Row 4, Casey Lakatos, Matt Shinosky. And row 5, Brandon Wallace and J.R. Shepard. Wallace up 16 positions with that. Calusa and Hodges up 17, but the biggest mover of all of it, Austin Belke in the 89, up 18 positions from this one.
Yeah, he's definitely the big benefactor out of all of this, but man, that definitely changes everything. And Joshua Banks was really the one that got the gift there. He was on pit road as the caution came out, was able to keep himself on the lead lap. So now he's up there with the track position, basically on even tires with the rest of the field. And he's going to be the control car here on this restart.
We'll see how Banks handles it. Lehman's going to put the pressure on from the outside, but coming out of turn number 4, pace car comes off. You'll notice the top line much shorter than the bottom line. All those waiver rounds have to be single filed out on the bottom line, and away we go for race restart number 2 of the night. Banks gets out very quickly. Lehman up on the top of the track. Dakota Floyd challenging on the bottom. Nearly 3 wide behind him.
And it looked like we actually did have some other black flags on that restart. Race control did clear those. Kind of a wonky situation with how many waiver rounds, extending the caution, all of that stuff just throws things out of whack. But back racing under green now. Joshua Banks out there in control. As you see, big contact between the 6 and the 24. A little bit further back, some door banging there between Adams and Turner. They're both able to keep it pointed in the right direction, though. That could have been big there on the restart. Up here near the front of the field, I mean, they're running double file for position. That's Dakota Floyd and Hapiak. Oh, big wreck. The 73 of McWhorter is involved. The 6 of Adams, the 24 of Bailey Turner. That took out
ahead of it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they're still going through the infield grass. That is a huge crash here at this stage of the race.
Oh, my. The 33 is Stravato with heavy damage. Hunter Sr., I don't know if he picked up any damage, but he ended up through the grass. Jordan Trask through the grass. But it started with the 6 and the 24. We just saw the contact on the other side of the racetrack in turn 1 and 2. Nearly made a full lap back around, but it was contact off of turn 4 that really just, oh man, I think that was McWhorter with the hood up.
Yeah, that was McWhorter with huge damage. My pre-race pick gets caught up in that, and Bailey Turner there to the inside of the 6 of Adams. Just contact between those two. Yeah, the 33 of Stravato gets into the 54. Angelo Ronis gets caught up in that. The 0-2 caught up as well. There's even some contact going on pit road after this incident that I'm seeing on pit road right now between drivers that are not happy with each other. just absolute chaos here in the early stages.
That completely blows apart the back half of the field. I think the one driver that was kind of wrapped up in it that actually ends up not too bad a condition. It's the 26 of Donnie Kite. You saw him completely sideways coming into the back half of the picture there, but ended up making no contact with any other cars or the wall. So luckily enough for him, he'll be able to continue, although by technicality wrapped up in it. See there, just no time. Bryce Shoemaker was there and just looked like Stravato maybe couldn't quite see what was happening. A little bit of a checkup coming from the 54 Shoemaker. It just, you're kind of lucky there for the 33, yeah. But man, look at Joseph McWhorter, completely destroyed from that one. The only car to receive a meatball flag.
Yeah, that car definitely got the worst of it. I believe Caleb Weekly did also have a meatball from that as well, but has since towed it back to the pits. And I don't think I have ever seen damage quite like that on a Gen 4 car on iRacing. I mean, that thing is absolutely killed. The front tires not even touching the ground. And I think the 13 of Caleb Weekly there, I believe that he actually had engine damage from that, even though visually it doesn't look quite as bad, but still terminal with that car as well.
So from a top contender leading laps, the 73 finds his way back to the garage. 45 laps led for Joseph McWhorter before exiting this race. You had to hate to see such a strong contender being taken out before even the halfway point. We're doubled back up. The pace car lights are off, and we're down into turns 3 and 4. Gonna get them racked back up here and send them on their way to start lap 63. The pace car will peel off into the Geico restart zone we go. Joshua Banks still in control, and away he goes. The 35 with a good jump again. Dakota Floyd follows suit immediately to the inside of James Lehman. Without any more damage here. I think we're going to do it nearly 3 wide with the 20 looking to the top side. Bryce Calusa falls back out of it, but under fire from the 71 of Carlisle. You see Jeff Wright working his way down to the bottom, trying to stay clear of anybody that might rub with the wall. 48 looking to move back up through the field. He's done it once already, down to the apron to the inside of Calusa and Carlisle. 3 wide once he gets into turn 1. Plenty of spacing for Jeff Wright to get through the inside of Ryan Carlisle. Will look to do the same with Calusa, but a little bit better of a drive off the top of the track. We've come to know it. Keep an eye on that 48 machine as he's got Calusa and Hapiak both lined up in his sights.
Yeah, that was definitely a big move out of the 48 last time around. You can see the 20 there. Got into the wall a little bit off of turn number 4. Jeff Wright able to take advantage, get to the inside, but now just really nowhere to go. They're double file in front of him. Let's see if he slides up in front of the 20 of Calusa. Not quite. Wasn't quite clear. They almost touched doors down the back straightaway. Jeff Wright able to clear now for position, but it just seems like that top group as we get later and later into this race starting to roll just a little bit more. Jeff Wright, though, able to finally clear and take control of that number 6 position. Nice recovery from getting behind on the track position with when that first caution came out during the pit cycle. So nice job by him, nice recovery there, but the battle is on between Carlisle and Calusa, still right next to each other. Oh, does it look like a little bit of contact there maybe between Wright and Calusa getting into the turn?
I have to say it was impressive to watch Jeff Wright just launch off the bottom line like a rocket ship ahead of 71 Carlisle. That's the confidence in having the top line all the way up to the wall available, and able to throttle it up a little bit earlier as now Carlisle finally gets around the 20 of Calusa. Shepard looks to the inside now for that same position. Jeff Wright ahead is looking to the inside of Nick Hapiak in the 06, gets the nose out ahead. Then you got the 31 of Shinosky right in the mix as well. I believe that's the 31 of Shinosky at least. A battle for the lead and started to form up. James Lehman on the inside. A little bit of a bobble out of turn 2, though. That'll give some breathing room to Joshua Banks. Back to the top side for Lehman here through 3 and 4.
Yeah, Joshua Banks with a really nice run there on the bottom through the turn as Lehman gets up into the wall off of turn number 4. Just a risky run with trying to carry that momentum on corner exit. It's going to allow Banks to get away a little bit and mitigate that challenge that he has coming from the 0-5. So a little bit of breathing room here for that 35, and you can see back behind them, Jeff Wright now up into the 4th position. He's got his sights set on Dakota Floyd, trying to get up there and get back into the podium spots. Continues his climb back up through the field.
Joshua Banks crosses the stripe this time. We're going to start the back half of the race here on lap 70. Night Racing League Cup Series presented by M&J Distributors. Quite the show here for race number 2 of the night. Don't look now, as Calusa, he's got a challenger right on his tail. The 75 of Chuck Sweden finding some speed here, closing in on the 20 machine, lap after lap. Going to work his way up through the top 10. Very close on the back bumper coming across the trial, backs it off before turn 1. That's a little bit of a show of force there coming from Chuck Sweeting. He has the speed, he can make the move. It's just a matter of when do I want to?
And interestingly enough, these 3 cars, the 20 of Calusa, the 75 of Chuck Sweeting, and also the 23 of Ray Massey, they are the biggest mover, I'm sorry, actually J.R. Shepard rather, in 7. They are the 3 biggest movers on the race so far. Up 13, 14, and 12 positions. So these are drivers that have been making moves all race long, working their way up through the field. Sweeting still working that bottom line, trying to find a way around Calusa, but just to this point, not quite able to make it stick. Calusa doing a nice job running that middle lane, carrying that momentum the whole way around, but this is about the closest that Sweeting has been on corner exit. He can carry a little bit of momentum here and maybe try to pull the slide job on him, but it looked like he was trying to get to the outside, but Calusa anticipating it, jumps up to that high lane, doing what he can to play a little bit of defense here and make sure that he keeps that outside fended off from the 75.
Looking through the field here, you see some drivers that you mentioned started towards the middle or the back of the field, working their way up through the front. Some of the drivers that started at the front, finding their way to the back. 3 cars claimed in that last caution. The 73 of Joseph McWhorter retires early, as well as Josh Adams in the 6 and 13 of Caleb Weekly. Still with 26 drivers on the track. AJ Stravato now being scored 5 laps down. Ben Laughter 7 laps down. Stephen Davis 10 laps down. Still have plenty of time remaining here. If we get a string of cautions, we might see some of those guys work their way back onto the lead lap and start working their way up the scoreboard again. Challenging for possibly a top 10 or top 5 position. Right now we're going to hopefully keep it clean and green. See if we can get another pit cycle here under green flag conditions. Be able to take it all the way to that lap 140 mark. Jeff Wright now to the inside, taking a look for P3. Dakota Floyd shuts the door, gets the run off of turn 4 that he needed. But the 48 with a slight disadvantage on the tires, still doing a great job of attacking for that top 3 spot.
Yeah, it's really impressive. As you can see, big wiggle there out of the 57 of Floyd. That's going to give the 48 of Jeff Wright some momentum down the back straightaway. But Dakota Floyd has been really working that high lane up in 3 and 4 for the majority of the race. We'll see if he can carry the momentum on exit. Not quite able to do so. Put Jeff Wright back into a podium position. Really impressive move there, especially as you mentioned, Logan, with the tire deficit. that the 48 is with here. So just showing that speed that we have grown accustomed to seeing out of the 48 machine, always going to be a threat, and he's flexing his muscles right now with working his way up through the field.
Now with the 2.5 up the road to James Lehman, Floyd and Wright need to try to work together here and utilize the drafting capability of this Gen 4 package down the front stretch and the back stretch. But the 57 is going to scrape the wall once again out of turn number 4. It's going to allow Jeff Wright now to get some breathing room here. About 0.3 of a second separate Wright and Floyd. Jeff Wright is actually closing that gap up to James Lehman. Down to 1.3 seconds this time. Again, we have a whole other pit cycle we have to work through before the end of this race. It can very well change. We've already seen the first pit cycle get interrupted by that caution, completely throwing off the timing and scoring. A lot of drivers that had to get wave rounds, a lot of drivers that needed to have a lucky dog, and a quick caution after that. It's been completely different from the first race of the night, Daniel, that's to say the least.
Yeah, it's definitely been more chaotic in this one, and you know, I almost feel like that's kind of to be expected, not because of the drivers in the field or anything like that, but these cars are just harder to drive. I mean, the Xfinity car isn't necessarily easy, but you take any car, give it an extra 200 horsepower, at least 200 more than what any of the other stock cars have, you just kind of expect those mistakes. I mean, these drivers are really good with what they're doing out there, but these cars are a handful, so hopefully we can keep the next portion of this race green, as you mentioned. And talking about the pit cycles, the pit strategy, from the numbers that we got from a few of the drivers regarding the fuel runs, everybody should be on a one-stop strategy the rest of the way. Even those that did come down under that last caution or those that stayed out on the last caution, everybody should be in that one-stop window at this point.
We have slightly similar weather to what we had on the first race this afternoon, but a little bit cooler as the cloud coverage comes in. 114 degrees on the track surface, 85 degrees ambient air temperature, so up 4 degrees from where we were for the Challenger Series, but down 4 degrees at the lowest point that we saw. Now down 5 degrees at the lowest point we saw in the Challenger Series. But with bills to pay, we might as well send it to a commercial break here. We'll keep the green flag action on the screen for you. So let's take a quick word from our sponsors.
JS Racing, we're in the game.
To keep pace with the ever-changing landscape of marketing and advertising, let Clark Print Shop help you spot the trend and keep you in front of the pack with all your color printing needs. From business cards to invitations, menus to mugs, we can print anything you need on paper or your choice of over 3,000 promotional items. Visit www.clarkprintshop.com to browse our online catalog and place your order today, or call us at 276-889-3426. For a limited time, use the code iRacing for 23% off your first purchase. The staff at Clark Print Shop looks forward to handling all your color printing needs.
Walking and rolling costume started when my son Reese was born with cancer.
So when I was 3 years old, I got my first wheelchair.
And he wanted to be Wall-E for Halloween that year. And so I knew you couldn't buy a costume to go on a wheelchair at that time, so I knew I had to build one.
My dad ended up building a Wall-E costume out of a Dell computer box.
When we were all finished, he loved it. We took pictures of it and shared it on social media. So many people started sharing it that we started getting requests from people we didn't know.
In 2015, we decided to build them for other kids because people were asking, hey, can you build them for my kid?
So we started the nonprofit organization, Walking and Rolling Costumes, and we build costumes for kids all over the nation, free of charge to the families.
Racing, we're in the game.
And we're back here live at Chicagoland Speedway. Not much has changed except the 33 of AJ Stravato has elected to bring it back to the garage, retiring from the race here. Unfortunate to see another top contender making their way off of the track. Donnie Kite in the 26. Looks like maybe some connection issues for him, or also bring it back to the garage. We've got 5 retirees on the night, leaving us with 24 cars still on the track. And still a whole lot of race for anything to happen. Track temperature has actually since come down even more. 110 degrees on the surface now. So really might have an effect here in these long run capabilities. Might have some of these drivers that push a little bit harder and use up that tire a little bit more before we have to see this last pit cycle, which could come at any minute. The window is open to make it to the end. We've seen 52 laps completed on a fuel cycle. This time by leaves us with just 50 to go, Daniel.
Yeah, we're definitely in that window where it wouldn't surprise me to start seeing some drivers come down the pit lane. Looking up towards the front of the field, though, Jeff Wright actually able to just complete a pass for the second position, or rather running side by side for the second position with James Lehman. So one driver that has picked up the pace here as the track has started to cool off is that 48 of Jeff Wright. You can see there the entire track in shadow in the overcast shade right now. It seems like it's playing to the advantage of that 48 car at the moment.
Seems to be falling that way as he's caught up now to James Lehman, looking to attack the inside. It's one of these things that you can really notice the ability of some of these drivers, where Jeff Wright, as you just saw there, holding it mere inches off of the left rear of Lehman. Any slight mistake could end up in 2 very wrecked race cars, and not to mention anybody that would be coming up from behind. Good speed. Ryan Carlisle right there in the 1 second bubble. He would be the first driver to come up across the incident. And it would be very challenging to try to navigate, to say the least. These cars are moving nearly 200 miles an hour. It comes up very, very quickly. The 48 slots back in behind James Lehman, electing to both take the top line through 3 and 3.
Man, that was getting tight.
All over. And actually, look at that. The 05 of Lehman does get loose right in front of Jeff Wright. Maybe a little bit of contact there to help it. It opened up the door for the 48 to get to the bottom. That's side by side as they enter 1. I think the 05 of Lehman will still have to drive off the corner. Jeff Wright trying to work his way up to the top of the track. Not enough room to complete the slide job. Look at this. Ryan Carlisle was a second behind, now within 0.2 of a second as these two have gotten side by side.
Yeah, you said it. Carlisle able to close right in on these two battling for position, and another driver that's loving what he's seeing right now. So race leader Joshua Banks, these two had started to close in on him just a little bit, but he's now out to a 1.6 second lead as this battle for second heats up. Now a 3-car battle with Carlisle joining the party here as well. And man, there's some really tight racing between Lehman and Jeff Wright here. Carlisle thinking about going 3 wide, split in the middle. Not quite close enough, though. Jeff Wright continues to work that bottom lane and try to find a way around the 0-5. But really nice job here by Lehman working that top groove, able to keep that position and play some defense as Jeff Wright now going to the top. But Carlisle saying, I'll just go where they ain't. He's looking to the bottom. He's going to try to throw his hat up here and take that number 2 spot.
Clean Air helping the 71 for sure through 1 and 2. Holds it down to the bottom again. Nearly 3 wide. It's offset, but it's there. Jeff Wright still holding on to the outside line of Ryan Carlisle. The 05 of Lehman loves what he's seeing now. The pressure is relieved. Joshua Banks now up the road, nearly 2 seconds ahead of this battle for P2. So he's loving what he's seeing in the rearview mirror. 44 laps completed for the 35 machine. So about 5 laps from now, we should see most of our field start to work their way down to pit road for the final stop of the night. Hopefully, the final stop of the night. Wright takes it down to the bottom, puts some dirty air on the nose of Carlisle, keeps some clean air on his nose while Lehman goes up to the top of the track. Behind them, Dakota Floyd, J.R. Shepard nearly side by side. Chuck Sweeting just a couple cars behind it here. Looks like we've got a little bit of lap traffic in between them. It's the 02 of Hunter Sr. Where is he on the time and scoring? 13 laps down for the 02 Sr. So no dog in this fight, but doing a great job of keeping clear, giving these guys room to battle for that position. Floyd gets out ahead a little bit, about a quarter of a second over J.R. Shepard now. Chuck Sweeting about a half second behind Shepard. So it's anybody's ball game up here in the top 10 if we're being realistic about it. Side by side again at the front, James Lehman, Jeff Wright. Wright again attacking on the inside line. A call from the 79 pitting this time by, so Jordan Trask will be one of the first again to lead us into this pit cycle. We'll see how it pays off for his team this time by. Gets it off the racing surface, down to speed, 50 miles an hour down pit lane here at Chicagoland. No black flag for the 79, so he makes it.
Yeah, that is going to kick off this round of pit stops. So be curious to see if anybody tries to run it longer, or if that's really going to open the floodgates here to bring everybody else down pit road. Of course, we saw during the last round of green flag stops, staying out longer was the play, as it looks like Jeff Wright is actually making his way down to the pit lane now. Saw him duck off, as well as Banks. Chuck Sweeting, Ray Massey, they are all coming down pit lane here as well. So that is indeed going to open the floodgates here, open up this pit window for what could potentially be the final stop of the race.
To the pit box goes the 35. Right side's up for Joshua Banks. Right side up for Jeff Wright. Behind them, Ray Massey, right side up as well. We've got one already moving out of the pit box. That's the 75 of Chuck Sweeting. Banks gets out of the box before Jeff Wright this time. 15 seconds in the box for the 48. 14.6 for Joshua Banks. We'll cycle out one right behind the other. Try to pick up speed on the apron, back up onto the racing surface, out of turn number 2. There goes the 50 of Casey Lakatos, currently running in the 6th position. Banks and Wright both 1 lap down right now until the rest of the field brings it down for their final pit stop of the night. The 20 of Calusa gets out of the box. No black flags on pit road this time. 20 clears the exit cone. Picking back up on the speed. Looks like the 71 of Ryan Carlisle is now going to bring it down pit road. The 06 of Nick Hapiak. So again, with multiple groups bringing it down at separate times. The strategy stays.
Carlisle coming in hot. I didn't think he was going to get that slowed down. Sorry to cut you off there, Logan. I did not think he was going to be able to make pit road speed, but a nice job by Carlisle there, getting it slowed down in time. You can also see Dakota Floyd on pit road here as well.
Hapiak makes it. Shoemaker makes it. Elliott Butler has already left his stall. That's the 88 of Keith Shoemaker. 71 of Matt Shanowski calling out over the radio. He'll be coming down this time by. Interesting to see who follows him. The 71 gets out of the box clean. The 57 getting back out onto the track. He'll cycle out in the midfield. There goes the 88 of Keith Shoemaker. I tell you what, the Shoemakers, Keith and Bryce, both week after week have just fantastic concepts, in my opinion. I love coming out here and seeing what they have on display on either the 54 or the 88 machine. You know, you think of NASCAR, what do you think of? Beer, Budweiser, might as well. Red Bull here being sported by Bryce Shoemaker tonight. He's going to put together a solid run here, currently running in the top 5. As he makes his way around another car down pit road. Still, our top 9 have yet to bring it in. Rather, the top 8 have yet to bring it in. Joshua Banks has managed to get around J.R. Shepard, unlapping himself already before Shepard and company bring it down pit road. Lehman now enters his box, and away he goes.
Interesting strategy call. Yeah, really interesting strategy call there from the 05 of Lehman to stay out a little bit longer there. I mean, we've seen what a speed difference it is with these fresher tires. So going to be curious to see how much time he gives up as a result of this longer stint. See if he can make it up on the back end of the run. But just based off of what we saw with that early race caution, it doesn't seem like that 5 to 6 laps is a big enough difference to be able to make it up. So you can see here, we've got another taker coming down pit road. That is the 50 of Casey Lakatos. He's going to make his way down here. So winding down this round of green flag pit stops, just a few more drivers left to come down and make their final stop. That will hand the lead back to Joshua Banks if and when we do complete this green flag cycle.
Aaron Shepard, Christopher Hodges, Austin Belkey, Brandon Wallace, Bryce Shoemaker, the remaining drivers in the top 5 that need to bring it down. The only drivers still on the field that need to bring it down, actually, I know Bailey Turner, Ben Lafner back there in 21st and 22nd position still need to bring it down one more time. Fortunately for them, though, being wrapped up in some incidences, and to push them back at the back half of the field. Likely not be too much of a factor here coming to that checkered flag. Turner being scored 2 laps down, 7 laps down for Ben Lafter. So it looks like Brandon Wallace is going to keep it out on the racetrack. J.R. Shepard brings it down to pit road. Christopher Hodges, Bryce Shoemaker all down pit road now. So it leaves us with 2 in the field for the race win. At least of the lead lap cars, rather. We have just 31 laps remaining here. It's come and gone in the blink of an eye. Only 3 cautions so far, 6 lead changes on the night. Track temperature still fluctuating. We're moving back up on that gauge to 112 degrees on the surface now. Cloud coverage has gone away. These drivers will have to adapt as that track warms up more and more as we get closer to lap 140.
And seeing Brandon Wallace run this stint long, not really a surprise out of him. He's a driver that, you know, Logan, we've raced against in quite a few other series outside of SNR. Seems to be a strategy play that he tries to use quite a bit. So he'll probably run it until it's empty at this point. But even still, I would have to think within the next handful of laps, expect to see both the 99 of Wallace and the 89 of Austin Belkey both on pit road.
I give it about 2 laps here before those 2 drivers bring it down. 51 laps completed on this stint so far. Stayed out on one of the cautions, but I don't think it's going to be enough. It looks like Brandon Wallace bringing it down to the apron for the pit road entry. Gets it down to 50 miles an hour. Good to go there. Austin Belkey elects to take it around the track one more time. Up from that very last spot on the field, started P29 on the night. The 89 finds himself in the race lead. A caution would definitely help him out here unlikely to come onto the track. He works his way down to the bottom of 3 and 4. The 89 will make his last pit stop of the night. And like you said, handing the lead back over to Joshua Banks, coming ripping through the bottom of 3 and 4. He'll get around the 89 before he even gets into his pit stall. Jeff Wright, about a half of the tri oval behind Joshua Banks. 1 second separating first and second place. Chuck Sweeting in the 75, about 2 seconds behind Jeff Wright. So it's looking like the end of this race could be pretty well spread out. We have a whole lot of tire strategy in this field that we got some drivers with a 5-lap advantage, some drivers with even more, up to a 9 or a 10-lap advantage. Be interesting to keep an eye on those guys that have those fresh tires. If they can work their way up through the dirty air, back up to the front of the field and challenge for the race win, we have a handful of laps to do it. It's not impossible. 25 to go here at Chicagoland for race number 2 of the night.
Yeah, that 05 of James Lehman. He's the one that's, he's the one that's got the biggest tire advantage. He's got to push. He's got to try to take advantage of that now, but you called it. He was big loose there, able to hang on to it, though. Behind on track position as a result of staying out a little bit longer, but you can see just how much more speed he is able to carry. Currently just 10 laps in on this stint, so got about 4 to 6 laps over most of these drivers ahead of him. See if he can do anything with it here as he's up there running that extreme upper groove, but the 20 moves right up in front of him and just not able to find the clean air as it stands right now. He's going to go back to that top groove and see if he can find something, but the 20 of Calusa running right in front of him, just really nowhere to go as he actually gets into the wall off of turn number 4.
That dirty air playing a very hard game on the nose of the 05. That opens up the door for Dakota Floyd to get to the inside. Will he be able to make it count here? 2 laps of a disadvantage against James Lehman. Running in the 9th position, Bryce Calusa and Jordan Trask just ahead of him side by side as they dive down into turn 3. I think the dirty air not giving Lehman a whole lot of choice here on staying off the wall on corner exit. Looks to the middle of these two, though. That is a very narrow gap. Gets the nose in there. Trask goes up the track a little bit, shuts the door, but it's not enough to keep Lehman out of the picture. Loose in the middle, though. That will allow the 20 to get the drive back around and safe for now. Don't look now. The 79 of Trask not finding the speed off of the corner. There goes the 20. He's loose. A tap into the wall he goes. Lehman gets by, giving some help to the 20 machine. Burt is up, coming across the tri-oval. Where is that caution flag out now? Very slow on the track. Man, oh man, the 20's race has just ended. Meatball flag for Bryce Calusa as he brings it down to the apron off of the racing surface. You see the front right completely broken off. I don't know how he's even working around the track right now. That hood up over the windshield. You cannot see a thing. The front right tire just dangling there, not helping whatsoever at all. There goes the front bumper. The tire finally completely disconnects. On the brakes goes Calusa in the grass. Tow truck will come out and take him back to the pits. The 20. The night is over after a solid effort here. Unfortunate to see going from inside the top 10 to finishing outside of the top 20 so late in the race. Lap 120 here.
Yeah, just a heartbreaker. Was in the top 10. As you can see, the 05 into the wall yet again on corner exit of turn number 4. But yeah, that's just a heartbreaker for Calusa in the 20. Had a really solid run going, had been top 10 pretty much the entire night, and just massive damage there on that hit. Taking a look at this battle, though, you've got the 79 of Trask. You've also got J.R. Shepard, Lehman, and Dakota Floyd here, all kind of under a blanket together, racing for that 6th position. See J.R. Shepard, the one that has control of that position as it is. The 05 of Lehman not able to make the ground that maybe unnecessarily anticipated with that tire advantage that he's got, but got to think he's starting to struggle with the handling. We've seen him in the wall a few times. These cars definitely need that extra aero downforce on the front. That just seems like it's just starting to compound here for the 05. Struggling with the handling, getting into the wall, makes it handle worse, and this seems to be a vicious cycle here for him right now.
He's doing a good job considering how many times the right side of that 05 has met the wall. Damage not coming into effect for James Lehman, but the speed certainly being inhibited. Although a 2-lap advantage over Dakota Floyd. Floyd doing a great job of holding on to that rear spoiler. J.R. Shepard, though, nearly a 10-lap advantage over a couple of these drivers on the tires, and he's actually the freshest tires in the field, trying to work his way up to the top
and a big
5.
moment for Dakota Floyd there.
Floyd gets extremely loose, loses the spot back to Trask. Nick Papiak able to get around as well. So Floyd struggling to hold on to a top 10 at this moment. See if he can pick that momentum back up and climb the positive way, almost climbing and scoring. Still up 1 position from where he started. Chuck Sweeting, however, at the moment, the current biggest mover, up 18 positions from P21 to a top 3 spot. I'll be happy with the 75 team and the calls that have been made here tonight.
Yeah, really solid run for him. Just out there keeping his race clean. I mean, we've seen the chaos on one of the restarts shortly thereafter. Seen a lot of drivers run into trouble this evening, but shout out to that 75, doing exactly what he needs to do. And just about 15 laps away from bringing home a podium finish here this evening.
Lap 126 of 140, the Saturday Night Racing League Cup Series presented by M&J Distributors is coming to a close. We still have a handful of drivers in the hunt for the race win. So here we go to the inside. Christopher Hodges in the 15, closed up about a second gap to Dakota Floyd. Able to get around into the top 10 for Hodges. Another driver with a great advantage here in the tire department. 16 laps in the current stint versus our leaders. Banks, Wright, and Sweeting all at lap 26 on the stint. I don't know if there's enough time left on the board for Hodges to really make the charge up to the lead pack. About 13.5 seconds behind our race leader. I'm thinking it's looking pretty good here for J.R. Shepard. Again, I just don't know if there's enough laps left for him to really mount this comeback up here.
Yeah, he's definitely put himself in a good position, though, sitting there in that number 5 spot. Does have the tire advantage, running the fastest laps of anybody in the top 5, but I'm with you. I don't think there's quite enough time left for him to get up there and challenge for the win. But definitely P4 could be on offer here for him.
Being so late in the season, again, week 11 of 12 for the regular season before the chase for the Cup sets off with our top 16 drivers. Bonus points getting into that cut line. It can be quite important here with just 2 races to go. In Martinsville next week, our drivers might take the effort here tonight and try to flip that script and get a better running next week, and other drivers might struggle going from the 1.5 miles down to just the paperclip known as Martinsville. Very short track racing can be very fast. Ultimately, a lot of mistakes can be made at those short track races. As we see the 24 of Bailey Turner, the 15 of Christopher Hodges gets by Turner with heavy damage on the nose. 3 laps down for him. Not the night he was looking to have. J.R. Shepard has moved up another spot here. He's side by side with Ryan Carwile for P4. 5 seconds behind our race leader. I think Shepard could very likely crack up into the top 10 if he can keep or rather the top 3 if he can keep up this pace.
Yeah, he's able to get by the 71 of Carwile with relative ease, taking advantage of those fresher tires. So looking at the lap times here, was still 0.2 faster than Chuck Sweeting, even with making that pass for position. Just under 10 laps to go here, so he definitely does have a shot at rounding out our podium here this evening. Really strong effort out of that 98 tonight.
2 seconds up the road to the 75 of Sweeting. You're now at 9 laps to go this time by. 0.2 of a second faster each time might not be enough, but 3 or 4 of a second could very well end in a side-by-side battle for the P3 finish. We're going to find out here momentarily. Ryan Carwile rounding out the top 5. Ray Massey, James Lehman, Nick Hapiak, Jordan Trask, Christopher Hodges in your top 10. Hodges looking to make a move on Trask coming down the backstretch here. There goes the 15 of Hodges to the inside. Makes it stick. Not quite a slide job. Plenty of room there ahead of the 79. Jordan Trask, the tires not holding up for him. 10 laps of difference between Hodges and Trask, and it shows.
Yeah, Hodges and Trask, 2 of our drivers that ran the Xfinity race earlier. And I just feel like I just want to give a shout out to all these guys that are doing the double duty tonight, running both of these races. You know, you might think, well, it's at the same racetrack. Track time is definitely beneficial, but such different cars. I mean, they're so different with the driving style. It's not an easy thing to do, to get out of one, get in the other, and just hop right in and go after it out on track. So shout out to those guys pulling the double duty and honestly kind of making it look easy out there.
Shoemaker has the 16 of Elliott Butler working around the outside here. That's for P15. Austin Belkey in the 89 right behind. Shoemaker's going to battle back here on the bottom of 1 and 2. Gets side by side again. Belkey gets a huge run off of turn 2. Takes it 3 wide to the bottom. It's all set, but it's there, I promise. So we're going to close it back up. Door to door, 3 wide through 3 and 4. Shoemaker, the hamburger in the middle. Belkey on the bottom. Butler on the top. Top line will prevail with more speed off the corner. That shoves the 54 back behind both of these drivers. Belkey still looking to make it a 2 for 1. Gets out ahead of Butler's. He has to let up before meeting the wall out of turn number 2. Shoemaker has to do the same to keep it off of Butler. Side by side down the backstretch into turn number 3. This battle's not going to go away very quickly. These two drivers very equal here in the late running of this race, but 5 to go at Chicagoland until we find out who will ultimately be our race winner.
A really good battle for position between these drivers. Just taking a look at the standings as they currently run. You know, we've been talking about J.R. Shepard. He's cut that gap about in half to Chuck Sweeting for the final podium position. Got it under a second now. So making his way up there, you know, you called it, Logan. I didn't necessarily think he'd have enough time, and he's still got some work to do with 4 laps to go here. But with the pace that he's running, he could definitely get there and try to make his way up into that final podium position.
I think it's going to be side by side for P3 when we get down to it. 3 laps remain. Chuck Sweeting here holding on to the 3rd position. Going to try his best in the 75 machine to hold on to it at the very end. Joshua Banks, Jeff Wright separated by 1.8 seconds. Our 1 and 2 positions look like they'll be rather settled here. As a big wiggle coming down the backstretch. The 05 of Lehman struggling here. Is the 06 of Nick Hapiak trying to work around the outside. Juicy Spider showing that they have drivers here to represent as he makes it look easy. Lehman gets squirrely on the bottom again. Hapiak into P7. It's 2 to go here. Joshua Banks ready to see that white flag as he comes out of turn number 4. White flag in the air. It is official from here. The caution flag will not fly no matter what happens. Down into turn 1 for the last time tonight, sticking to the bottom comfortably with a 1.5 second lead over the dominating Jeff Wright. Tonight is the night for Joshua Banks. Down into turn 3. Through turn 4. Checkered flag in the air, and the race win to the 35 of Joshua Banks, crossing the line at 183 miles an hour. multiple laps led here, 75 over half of the race. Started P3, couldn't quite get the pole, but got the race win after all. Jeff Wright and Chuck Sweeting will round out the top 3 podium spots. See the 48 pull up next to the window there. Joshua Banks, a little thumbs up action for him. Banks will work his way back around to the front stretch, get that celebration in order here. It's going to be big for the momentum swing into the playoffs. There's the 05 of Lehman pulling up alongside. Little tap from the 06 of Happyack. Back to the start finish line for Joshua Banks. Burn it down, my friend. You deserve it. Joshua Banks takes part in his celebration for the race win tonight. We'll go ahead and send it to a quick commercial break, have a word from our sponsors, get set up for the post-race show, have a word with our top 3 finishers. And we will be right back.
JS Racing. We're in the game.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Drivers, start your printers.
To keep pace with the ever-changing landscape of marketing and advertising, let Clark Print Shop help you spot the trends and keep you in front of the pack with all your color printing needs.
From business cards to invitations, menus to mugs, we can print anything you need on paper or your choice of over 3,000 promotional items.
Visit www.clarkprintshop.com to browse our online catalog and place your order today, or call us at 276-889-3426. For a limited time, use the code iRacing for 23% off your first purchase. The staff at Clark Print Shop looks forward to handling all your color printing needs.
Walking and Rolling Costume started when my son Reese was born with cancer.
So when I was 3 years old, I got my first wheelchair.
And he wanted to be Wall-E for Halloween that year. And so I knew you couldn't buy a costume to go on a wheelchair at that time. So I knew I had to build one.
My dad ended up building a Wall-E costume out of a Dell computer box.
When we were all finished, he loved it. We took pictures of it and shared it on social media. So many people started sharing it that we started getting requests from people we didn't know.
In 2015, we decided to build them for other kids because people were asking, hey, can you build them for my kid?
So we started the nonprofit organization, Walking and Rolling Costumes, and we build costumes for kids all over the nation free of charge to the families.
JS Racing.
And we're back here live from Chicagoland, Joliet, Illinois. The Saturday Night Racing League Cup Series has concluded. We saw our race winner, Joshua Banks. Let's go ahead and run it through the rest of the field here. Jeff Wright taking home P2 and Chuck Sweeting rounding out our top three. J.R. Shepard had quite the opportunity, got within 0.6 of a second for that podium spot, but ultimately ends up plateauing before he can get there, rounding out here in fourth. Ryan Carwile in the 71 takes home a top 5 finish tonight, with Ray Massey in the 23 coming home in P6. Nick Hapiak in the 06 for Juicy Spider will take home 7th, with James Lehman in the 05. We saw him battling for lap after lap here. Top contender comes home in P8. The 15 of Christopher Hodges on the alternate strategy almost pays off, gets into the top 10, but falls short, stopping at P9. And last but not least, the 79 of Jordan Trask, able to mitigate the damage falling through the field, gains 4 positions on the night and takes home a top 10.
Finishing just outside that top 10 is going to be Casey Lakatos coming home in 11th. In the 12th position is going to be Matt Shinosky. And then in 13th, your pre-race pick, Logan, and it's going to be Dakota Floyd, with Brandon Wallace coming home in 14th. Austin Belkey coming home in 15th after a little bit different strategy play here this evening. Bryce Shoemaker comes home in the 16th position. Elliott Butler going to finish in 17th. Keith Shoemaker in 18th. Angelo Ronas in 19th. And after that early damage, Bailey Turner is going to come home in the 20th position.
In 21st, this is 64 of Ben Laughter, followed up by the 60 of Stephen Davis in 22nd. The 20 of Bryce Calusa ends up 21 laps down in P23, followed up by the 02 of Hunter Sr., 45 laps down. Donnie Kite in 25th for the 26 machine, 53 laps down. AJ Stravato ends his race early in 26, followed by the 73 of McWhorter. Josh Adams and Caleb Weekly will round out your final drivers here on the night. Rob Hamp, he was on the timing and scoring, never saw the 4 on the track, but finishes out here in 30th with essentially what's a start and park for the Cup Series. Daniel, we've got some interviews to get to, and I know that one guy that's chomping at the bit here to talk to us, it's the 35 driver, our race winner, Joshua Banks, joining us up here in the booth. You got a copy, driver?
I got you, brother. Hey.
Well, long time no see, Mr. Banks. Congratulations on a race win. You took it from 3rd to 1st, 75 laps led. You were in the lead for over half the race. Now, I have to say, we obviously coming fresh off of the Xfinity race and seeing just how important the clean air was for those cars, and you had a couple hundred horsepower on top with the entirely different draft package type of body. How important was it here for the Cup Series, that clean air at the front of the pack?
It definitely was different. You could feel it whenever I get behind somebody, a lap car or whoever. You could feel the car just getting tight if you don't predict it. So definitely changed things up. But, at the same time, I was thinking about this. I was like, we complain about dirty air all the time, but if you can't manage your tires up front, as good as Jeff Wright is behind you, there's no dirty air or no dirty air. You got to keep the tires underneath you. So it was tough doing both, trying to maintain a lead and keep the tires and stay out of dirty air to make it even easier for him to catch up. So yeah, it was fun. Not gonna lie, leading laps for once, not chasing somebody.
Well, you mentioned the tire wear and the tire fall off and having to manage that. We saw that it looked like there was about a second and a half of fall off over the course of the run, maybe even a little bit more than that. Did the car kind of trend one direction as far as being looser or tighter over the course of the run, or was it really just a matter of how you were driving it out there?
Both. I definitely think depending on how you entered the corner and how hard you entered and exited would determine your tires for sure. But car seemed to trended toward the first half of the run, seemed more loose, and then once the track cooled off a little bit. It definitely trended more tight. That right front was definitely wearing more. At least that last run, it wore more than the first half of the run, I think. So it was still manageable though, and the car was still able to, still stick to the bottom well, and you could make pace there, which was cool. You didn't have to migrate to the top and worry about somebody moving to the top and gaining time on you. It definitely is the way to pass, but if you can keep the tire and keep the lap times consistent, and you can run that bottom, which was what we did, and very happy to do that.
Well, you mentioned one of my favorite words there a couple times, consistency. And if you want to talk about consistency, let's talk about Joshua Banks. 7 top 5 finishes on the season, 2 wins on the season. You closed up the gap here coming into the race. You're about 42 points behind Bailey Turner. Obviously, with him having issues and finishing out in 20th tonight, that closes the gap to just 18 points. That completely rewrites the possible outcomes at Martinsville next week. How stoked are you going into the final race of the regular season?
That's going to be tight. If one person has a bad night, like tonight, it could swing the points for the regular season before we get to the chase, and those extra bonus points will be huge to have. So I'm hoping, Martinsville's one of my best tracks, and that's where the first track I really sat down and learned how to race. Now, granted, I haven't raced there in a while because, racing there in official races is not fun anymore, but it is one of my favorite tracks still, down to deep in my heart. So hopefully next week we can have some good racing and good long runs and figure this car out there and make pace. And we'll see what happens. We need to be a good gap on Bailey, and maybe not to wish it on him, but some unfortunate events again for him. I hate to say that, but if we want to get a regular season championship out of this, we gotta wish for it. So, looking forward to it though. Love it, and hope we can come out with another win back to back.
No bad blood in the statement by any means. Joshua Banks, congratulations on race win number 2 of season 5 here in the M&J Distributors Cup Series presented by Saturday Night Racing League. Who do you have to say thanks to? Any shout outs that you'd like to give for your success here tonight?
Oh man, we got to thank you guys up in the booth for what y'all do. Thanks to the admins for what they do on setting this league up. We've put on a pretty good race. We didn't end under a green, white checker tonight. So everybody here did a great job racing. I know we had our cautions, but that's coming to expect, but it kept it clean for the most part. And that was good. Racing was clean for the most part. And from what I hear, so shout out to everybody there for all our admins and all our partners, sponsors, M&J, Rock and Roll Costumes. We've got Clark's Print Shop. We've got Juicy Spider Studios. And I got up to 3 now. I've got up to 3. I'm working on it. So I think there's more, but I can't think. So anyway, thanks to everybody for coming on board to the season for season 5, and just keep this train rolling.
Well, good luck next week as you take it to Martinsville. The confidence behind the wheel could yield you another championship here in SNR. Well, we'll catch up with you next week, Joshua. Good luck, my friend.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you.
Race winner Joshua Banks here at Chicagoland. Again, 75 laps led, just a little over halfway of the race with control. That is how you come away with race wins here. It's no easy feat on these Saturday nights, but a driver who has made it seem easy is our P2 finisher, Jeff Wright, just so close to putting race win number 6 on the board, but comes away with yet another podium finish. Jeff Wright, you got Logan and Daniel up here in the VSPEED booth. You have a copy?
Yeah, got you guys.
Man, I kind of hit on the points with Joshua just a moment ago, but I'm going to hit on it with you as well. You came into this race 25 points behind Bailey Turner. You obviously have the most race wins on the season. You're going into the playoffs with a whole lot of bonus points compared to the rest of the field. But tonight, you close that gap up just 6 points behind Bailey Turner. How does that feel going into the last race of the regular season, knowing that you can come out of it a regular season champion here in SNR?
It's huge, and it's everything, really. I mean, just to go into Martinsville with a shot to get those 10 bonus points, because 5 races in our playoffs, that's not a lot of time. And so those points are very meaningful. Hate that it has to come at Bailey Turner's expense there, getting caught up in an accident. But, if it wasn't for that, we don't realistically probably have a shot at getting that. So I think mathematically now, looking at the points, Bailey obviously leading, and then, Josh is right there too. So just got to go to Martinsville, try to stay out of trouble, try to gain some points here on Josh and Bailey. And hey, if we get it, I'll feel really good going into the postseason. But if not, I know we got some good tracks coming up for us there in the chase as well.
Well, just taking a look at this race tonight, the box score says you started second, you finished second, but there was 2 different times that you got behind on track position. Just talk a little bit about your mindset trying to work your way back up through the field in each of those instances.
Yeah, unfortunate set of circumstances there with the cautions kind of just falling at untimely times for us. You just gotta, actually we got trapped a lap down, had to take a wave around, and you just got to be patient. Trying to work your way back through the field, realizing it's a long race. And then, just don't try to get too much of it back too quickly, because that's when accidents happen. And we almost got caught up in an accident there with Bailey and Joshua Adams getting tangled up there. So lucky we were able to squeak through to that. And then from that point on, I was just, it's tough to pass tonight. These guys are really good, especially passing on the bottom. If somebody was good at running the top, especially James Lehman, he's one of the best guys at running the top there, and I could not get around him to save my life. But pit sequence, we were able to get within about a second to Josh, but that's all I had for him. So second place, we'll take it tonight. It's good points. It's not the win that we would have liked to get, but still just happy to have a shot at that regular season championship as we go into Martinsville next week.
And with 5 wins on the season, you're no stranger to the next question here. Jeff Wright, who would you like to say thanks to for your success here at Chicagoland with your P2 finish?
Well, first off, I'll give Andrew Telganoff a shout out. He decided to jump up on the spotter stand, crew chief tonight. So helped me with a lot of really good information. So that was awesome. So thank you to him. And then obviously our sponsors, everybody that makes this thing happen. Especially our primary sponsor, Joshua Banks and his company, M&J Distributors. We could not do this without him. And then you guys up in the booth, Logan, you and Daniel doing a great job. I got to tune in a little bit there of the Challenger Series broadcast, and you guys did phenomenal work, and I'm excited to watch this one back here. Maybe either later tonight or maybe tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see, but you guys sure sounded good on that Challenger broadcast, and we'll go to Martinsville, see if we can get that regular season championship and see what we got for the rest of the season.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Jeff, and good luck next week. I'm sure we'll end up talking to you at some point throughout the chase if we don't get to talk to you next week, but looking forward to this points battle coming into that last race. Get to celebrate, my friend. We'll see you.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
That leaves us with just one more driver to go, and that's going to be the 75 of Chuck Sweeting, who I'm sure is excited to be up here. You started 21st and moved up 18 positions, claiming the award of the biggest mover of the race. Chuck Sweeting, tell us about that drive. What made it so successful to see the 75 up here for yet another top 10 finish? I believe this is number 6 on the season for you. You're going to bump yourself up into the points. I think you're pretty well in the green, locked into the playoffs here. But tonight, what was the key to success for the 75 team, Chuck?
I just try to be consistent. I'm pretty good on the long runs in these cars, and that's what I needed there at the end. I was actually even gaining on both Josh and Jeff just a tiny bit, not by much. I don't know how hard they were running. I was running all out. So I just took care of the tires. I kept a consistent line, trying not to slide too much, and it worked out for me tonight. So it was a lot of hard work getting from way in the back to the top 3, but worked out.
Well, you touched on it being the biggest mover of the race up from that 21st starting position. Just talk a little bit about how you were able to avoid the chaos that happened there around the middle portion of the race and get your way up there into that podium position.
Yeah, I was way in the back at that point, and so that kind of worked out. And when we got that caution from that big wreck, quite a few people pitted and got tires, but I didn't have very many laps on mine, and so I stayed out, and I did lose a couple spots, and then I kind of gained them back toward the end of the run, and then I don't know, it was just really good, really comfortable on the long run here. This thing gets a little free on throttle once those tires get worn out, and that works in my favor most of the time. So yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed the setup and had a good time tonight.
Again, another driver using my favorite word, consistency. Chuck Sweeting, fantastic job tonight. Again, the 18 positions gained. It doesn't come easily by any means. Who do you have to say thanks to or shout out for your P3 finish here at Chicagoland?
Just thanks to the league and all the admins, M&J Distributors, Walking and Rolling Costumes, RSR Driver Cams, FireStorm Racing, Clark Print Shop, all the associate sponsors that keep this league going week in and week out. And thanks to all the drivers for all the great racing and great respect they show on the track. I really appreciate it. And thanks to VSPEED for you guys putting on such an awesome broadcast.
Well, we certainly try our best up here. And again, congratulations on P3, Chuck. Hopefully the momentum keeps in favor of the 75 team as we work our way through the playoffs, my friend. Good luck.
Appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week.
And that will do it for our post-race interviews with our top 3 finishers. Daniel, it was quite the opposite of what we saw in the Challenger race, obviously going green flag to checker there tonight for the second race. 3 cautions, 9 lead changes. What are your thoughts here of the Gen 4 race?
Yeah, definitely had a little bit more chaos there in the middle of this one, but still a lot of really good green flag racing. We saw a lot of different tire strategies. So even though it did have a bit of a different feel to it compared to the Xfinity race, still a lot of similarities between the two of them, and definitely a lot of good racing between both of them here this evening. Gave us quite a bit to talk about.
Can't be upset with it by any means. Next week, as mentioned, you'll find these drivers tackling Martinsville Motor Speedway. So we're going to have 2 races of short tracks. Bristol for the Challenger at 7:45 Eastern. Martinsville at 10 p.m. Eastern, November the 8th, next Saturday night. You don't want to miss it. We said it multiple times. You can't say you forgot. It's the regular season championship race. And the points battle is hot here in the Cup Series. I believe it's pretty hot in the Challenger Series as well. It could go just about any way imaginable. But for tonight, that will conclude the showing here of Chicagoland for both the Challenger and the Cup Series. For everybody, once again, behind the scenes at SNR, all the admins, all of the fantastic sponsors that allow us to put this on the screen for you to enjoy at home. And if you did, hit that like and subscribe button. You will never miss another race. Races every single night of the week here on the VSPEED channel. It is action-packed Monday through Sunday. I've been Logan Threlkeld, of course. Joining me in the booth, Daniel Cunningham and Christian Hill, running the production truck on the night. For everybody behind the scenes at VSPEED, Adam Baker, Bradley Cooper, Eddie Smith, Morgan Cook, all of our other fantastic producers and commentators. It's been a wonderful night, but it's time to close out this Saturday night show, Sunday morning for some of you even. But it's been great. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week at Bristol and Martinsville.